I mean, I would happily die if something were to happen to me, right? But it's also putting that trust in whoever I'm with, saying, okay, yes, I'm risking this, this, and this, but I also still feel safe with you because I know what you're doing. In BDSM, there's an aspect of it called pet play. And it doesn't mean the furries. It's nothing like that. It's more about like their personality, or voices or sounds, things of that nature. So with BDSM, there's always the risk of death, right? Especially for people who are more extreme in BDSM, so like masochists and sadists. I consider myself a masochist, so I'm more on the extreme end. I like the pain, I like the blood, I like passing out. So there's that risk of actual death. So every time I go into a scene, I'm putting my body and my life into someone else's.
Yeah.
I have to trust them. So that skull represents death in a way, right? You're risking death. It's not just like the physical connection. There's the emotional, there's the mental. It's all of that, right? And so BDSM and all really encompasses every part of it. And that's why I enjoy it so much. I mean, I would happily die if something were to happen to me, right? But it's also putting that trust in whoever I'm with, saying, okay, yes, I'm risking this, this, and this, but I also still feel safe with you because I know what you're doing. Yes. So giving an example, let's say I had a former partner who would do scenes with me. I would go to his place, get tied up, get whipped, do all that good stuff, and that would be considered a scene. And then after that scene, or after that play, whatever you want to call it, then you talk it out, you do the aftercare, you do self-care, whatever you need. I mean, depending on the partner you have, right? Like me and my partner, we would sit down, have dinner, kind of review the scene, right? Like what went well in the scene, what felt comfortable, what didn't feel comfortable, what I would like to try next time, or what I would be more open to, or if it's something that I tried the first time, maybe I didn't like it. Things of that nature, that would all be discussed so that in the future, every time you do a scene, then you kind of figure out
you understand each
what
other
you
more.
like more.
And that way it's more of a pleasurable thing than
Right.
Feeling uncomfortable in those moments.
Right, and it's much less awkward, right? Like where you can say what you need even in the scene, right? Like if something's really uncomfortable, you have the confidence to say, no, I don't like that, back off. When you go into something like BDSM, you have to do your research. Right? I mean, there's plenty of websites, good websites, there's plenty of books to help you on that journey. But I think a lot of people, they saw this movie and they're like, oh, that looks so much fun, let me try it. And then there were people who got injured or hospitalized, or,
God, yeah.
So again, if you don't have that communication, or if you don't have someone that is not in it, right? It's very hard to understand really what's going on, right?
Definitely.
It's not a simple thing where you're like, oh, this looks fun, let me find someone that doesn't know what they're doing, even though they say they know what they're doing, and let me try it out.
Or let me go just try to tie my girlfriend up, right? And then end up, having burn marks on her skin because you're not using the right type of rope, or you're tightening the rope too tightly on them. Right. And it creates an actual, physical damage, as opposed to what BDSM stands for, which is being safe about it, right?
Yeah.
In
a way, yeah.
Well, some people are into that as well.
I mean, you have your extreme people that, in their discussions, they just want a contract and...
Not necessarily being unsafe, like, for example, with, like, rope. So you said about, like, the friction causing damage. Some people actually enjoy getting friction burns from using hemp rope specifically.
Yeah, like the physical pain, right?
Yeah, but it's still
But
always
it's still
safe.
discussed.
It's
It's discussed with the
all
partner. Like, this is what I
agreed
like,
upon.
right?
Yes,
It's not like, let me just use it on you and we don't know what the
And then they
consequences
find
of
out
it.
that-
Right? And why does it happen and what those emotions and feelings are behind it, right? Because if you don't have an understanding of any of it or even the basics, you're really not going to get far anywhere in the community, because you're just either you're going to find someone that doesn't know what they're doing, or you're going to feel insecure or less confident. And that's just, it's not good for yourself.
No,
you know?
you find yourself closing yourself to the opportunity to actually experiment and explore in a healthy way, because you have some bad experience beforehand of something that you didn't truly understand to begin with.
I've had my mix of bad people, right? But luckily I've learned enough from them saying, hey, I don't like that, what they do, or I don't like that person. That's the end of it. I'm going to move on and do a little more research. That's kind of how I kind of went into it, right? I had a friend who showed me it. I really liked it. I did my own research, and I found a couple of people that were really good, right? That showed me the ropes, explaining this is what this is and this is how this is done.
This is how it should be done.
How it should be done.
As opposed to, how they want to do it, or how it's like how they saw that somebody else did it, right? And this is something that's they're practicing on it and they know what's supposed to be done.
It's not like a one-time thing where everything's going to be perfected. It's an involvement over the years, right?
It's practice, pretty much.
You have to practice at it.
You have to practice on doing the knots correctly and on the act
knowing
itself.
the veins where those are located, how you're tying.
The veins on when you're tying on somebody's body?
Right.
How so?
So let's say like the wrist, right? There are certain veins. Let's say if you tie like right here, there's a major vein that comes up, right? But if you tie above it, it's not so much there. So there's less pressure, right? Depending on how you're tying or things like that. Right? I mean, definitely don't go through Wikipedia. Please don't. I've heard enough horror stories when people go through Wikipedia.
Really?
But anything, I mean, a lot of the websites that I did, I mean, they all ended with like a .org or a .net, something,
it's more of an organization as opposed to just a private website.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And usually their website with communities already in it, and so you get to see other people's input as well, which helps.
Oh.
Right. So
Forum-based type stuff, and
like
actual workshops as well.
and there's people like, let's say there's a very famous website called FetLife, and that's where I found like the people that I like that were experienced, but they also provide workshops or what they call munches.
Munches? What is that?
Munches is basically an event that happens like at a bar or sometimes at a house or...
I mean, in the UK, a munch is a purely public sort of just gathering, and no sort of play or activities go on, and it's just a group of like-minded people meeting up for food and drinks and just having a chit chat.
There are some munches though, like I have
You
a
have
friend
play
that goes,
munches.
right?
We differentiate them quite clearly. You have munches, play events. So play munches are a mixture of just chit chat and drinks and food and a little bit of play, and then you have play events, which are just all about the play.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
So you pretty much forming part of the community is what brings you more closer to an understanding of what good techniques are, what good communication is, and
finding like-minded people, which really helps, right? Which builds your confidence in it. It's cool in that way because you really get to experience everyone else's perspectives and how they do things. And
life is about perspective.
Yeah, there you go. My other tattoo.
What do you say?
Life is about perspective.
Yeah, it's very true. Very true.
I've been wanting Bambi for a very long time. It's one of my favorite movies. It was one of the first movies that really inspired me to love nature and art, and that they come together. because I'm an artist myself. I do photography and ceramics.
Oh, wow.
And then the quote on top, life is about perspective. So I chose that quote because I'm a social worker as well. And so I view things as everyone has a different perspective. And it's something that everyone needs to work with, understand that. Because we all have different views, right? You have to take care of yourself before taking care of someone else. Because at the end of the day, you're important. And even though you have family, you may have a kid, you still need to take care of yourself to take care of your family, child, whoever it may be. And that's always stuck with me. And that's what I'm trying to learn currently, is trying to take care of myself before taking care of others.
I like that.
Which is a very hard and long journey to do, but slowly but surely.
It's worth it, though. I mean, it's sort of like an understanding that you're responsible for your own happiness.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And taking on that responsibility with the most bravest heart you can have,
Right.
because
Well,
it's not
and
easy.
You're the only one that can make happiness. No one else can make you happy.
Very true.
So
Very true.
it's your life. It's how you design it or how you
Choose to
play
live
it
it.
out.
I like that so much. Awesome. Thank you. Laura, was it?
Yes.
Thank you so much for being part of this conversation.
Of course.
Pete, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being part of this as well. And hopefully I get to see how this tattoo turns out.
Yes.